Chris Paul historically clears Russell Westbrook. I know Russ at his peak won an NBA MVP, but Chris Paul was better at his peak, and the playoffs he actually performs at a higher level in the regular season. Russell Westbrook always got worse in the playoffs. I'm not a Chris Paul hater, but I am an honest person. And at 38 years old, he can't run. He's not a volume shooter, right? So the Suns, when they lost him, they got a little bit more offensively from campaign. So the idea here is you want to get a younger guard that ideally gives you more. Now, Chris Paul still is one of the best playmakers, and he could play to 45 years old because of how good he is running a ball screen and then coming off and diming up a shooter or the big. For that reason, I think Chris Paul in this stage of his career is a lot like Kyle Lowry in Miami. He can be a table setter off the bench that's really good mentoring younger guards, but he's not a guy that should play 70 games a season. And it's funny to me because when he got traded from Houston to OKC, he was so pissed off and so spiteful. He's like, you know what? I'm going to play every single game. And yeah, Chris, you are available for every single game. But in the playoffs, every single year, you weren't available in June. And or you were playing with a shoulder injury and you couldn't even shoot in the first round versus the Lakers. Some of it is not in his control. But I think overall, at this point, he's a 20 to 25 minute per game guy. But he's not someone you pencil as your starter, right? The Suns are looking to change this team. They're looking to get younger, more versatile, and bigger. And having a 6-foot guard that can't move is just, it's a liability in some ways. So, not a Chris Paul hater, but I think he would be great in San Antonio. I would love him with Victor. I think they need a point guard big time. And if the Boston Celtics trade Jaylen Brown this all season and they get themselves a Scoot Henderson, I think he would be an even better mentor for a younger guard that has true elite traits. At the end of the day, though, I don't know what the hell the Suns are doing. I don't know why you would make this move other than getting the opportunity to make a sign and trade because you wouldn't be able to if you were the second tax apron, from what I understand. And if you're going to get a Fred VanVleet for DeAndre Ayton, and it took waiving Chris Paul to make that happen, then it makes some sense to me. But at the end of the day, I think losing Chris Paul is a huge loss for a Suns team that has very little resources. The only exceptions they have are $5 million mid-level, a $4 million BA, and a trade exception for $5 million. For the Suns, this is just a move that you're not going to be able to analyze it up until they make some moves in free agency and you have the understanding long term.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess no, I don't disagree with anything you said, John.
I spoke straight facts. I hope you don't disagree.
Yeah, straight facts. No cap hinted at all.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, just with the Suns, now they've got Frank Vogel in the mix. So what I want to ask you, John, basically is this: are you? Because I feel like you're probably the lowest on the Suns, maybe. Where do you have them ranking next year? How do they look with Frank Vogel and that right now? Like, are they still top 5 in the West?
Oh, I love the Frank Vogel hire, actually. And I think they are top 4 in the West. Now, here's the thing. When you fire Monty Williams and you replace him with Frank Vogel, it's like, well, you replace one good head coach with another good head coach. You can upgrade. Yeah. But the Suns have the most skilled duo, the most accomplished duo, because Kevin Durant's number 2. You also are a team that a lot of people want to go to now because you have an owner that really wants to win, a general manager that players really like, and a head coach that's won a championship. So a lot of players, like think of the Lakers, they get Lonnie Walker, Malik Monk, guys are more willing to come to LA, are going to start to look at Phoenix as a free agent attraction for the first time in over 25 years, in a long-ass time. And for that very reason, I think this offseason, they're going to rebuild this roster with shooters. And when they trade DeAndre Ayton, which this move signals to me, they're going to move off of DA as well. They're going to get a couple of role players that can switch defensively and add a little bit more to this defense. Because KD and D-Book are good defenders, but they can't be your primary wings. So what if you can get, kind of like the Nets this last year, a couple of Swiss Army knife players? Nicholas Claxton broke out. Well, the Suns have themselves a miniature version of Nick Claxton, Darius Baisley, who's a free agent. Very good defender, great athlete, 6'8". He can play the small ball 5, but then also at the same time, you can extend Jacques Landale. You can get back JaVale McGee if you trade DeAndre to, let's say, Dallas. And then you add in a couple of guys that fill out the roster. Torrey Craig, I think of, if they can extend him, they'd have to use one of their 2 exceptions, so they'd have none left over. But I also think a guy that I'm really pinpointing to Phoenix is Kobe White. I know you're a big fan of him. a bigger guard that can shoot it, but also has athleticism. I think by getting younger this offseason, they're going to build the best team they've had in about 2 years. But if you have the bench and you have the top 10 players in number 2, and Devin Booker plays as well as he did at end this year, there's no two ways about it. Not only are the Suns a top 4 team in the West, I think you can make the case the Suns next year are the second team favored to come out the Western Conference right after the Nuggets, because you have Devin Booker at 27 years old just entering his peak. And I think they're going to build a lot defensively. And the offense is going to be pretty good here.
You agree with that? No. Okay. Number 2.
Yeah, that's pretty high. That's pretty high, but I don't know. It's too soon for me to hop on that train for Phoenix after what I saw.
I feel like you would be the one to hop on the train, though, Justin.
No, I know, because I love Kevin Durant and I love Devin Booker, but that's just 2 players. So it's really, we'll see how the offseason shakes out, and if the roster.
Apparently, Darren agrees with you, John. He said they're finishing second in the West.
Well, I have a question for you guys. If that's too high, what team is above them? The Lakers?
Yes.
Grizzlies?
I like the Lakers. Grizzly. I can't say that without knowing the suspension.
Ja's going to miss some time.
If Ja's on the floor, I like
tossing around toys.
Yeah, he's probably going to miss a lot of time.
The Clippers.
I'm still a big Clippers fan.
Above the Suns?
Right now, currently constructed. Yeah. Because I agree with see, John, what you're going with, and I agree with you, is they're going to make moves, and I agree they're going to make moves. I just need to see the moves they make. Right, because right now it's a very thin team. I do believe Ayton's gone. Obviously, we're going to see what happens with Chris Paul. If you tell me they're adding Colby White, I'm a huge Colby White fan. I like that move a lot, but I need to see the moves happen first. So that's why I would take the Clippers and like the Lakers over them now, because I kind of know what I'm getting at least with them.
But for me, the question is like, so as currently constructed, looking at the Suns, I look at teams sort of like the Dallas Mavericks, where if you surround Luka properly this offseason, Kyrie was a failed experiment.
Yeah.
If he's surrounded properly, this was a team that was just in the Western Conference Finals the year before.
Yes, sir.
This is a team we had high expectations for. So the Suns are the West is a very competitive conference. So it's tough for me to just say Suns number 2 when full offseason of Bron hopefully being healthy, a revamped LA Lakers roster. Teams on the rise like the Pelicans, if Zion is healthy. They were a first team. The teams that are currently constructed that are ready, that were on the bottom, that are better than what the Suns have currently. So I would, if you see the Pelicans right now, John, healthy Zion on the floor, obviously big if, you're taking the Pels over Phoenix?
I would up until Zion gets hurt, so sure.
Okay, but yeah, I'm playing it's a hypothetical game. But what I'm saying
like
is
that hypothetical game until it ends.